We don't play the social game. We are social. Power 98.5. You're listening to Power 98.5, powered by United Angels Dream, your number one resource for public relations, entertainment, and multimedia. Contact them today at unitedangelsdream.com.
Prepare yourself.
Okay, let's go.
Nancy, Ms. Nancy.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, very wonderful. I'm very happy you're here with me today, live on air with Stephen Cuoco.
Great to be here.
Bring me up to speed since our Instagram Live. What's been going on?
It's just nonstop. I mean, I'm just working 7 days a week, 12, 15-hour days still. My studio's been turned into a mask making studio, and it actually feels good responding to the requests and needs of my followers.
Now, we're not just talking any mask. You've created something new.
Actually, I have a couple new versions, and like the one, it seems so practical, and I don't think it exists anywhere. Well, both of them, I don't think exist in the way I've created it. One, my masks now all have a neck lanyard. So when you think about it, we're supposed to wear our mask indoor, outdoors. And you see so many people when they're taking a break, they pull it down on their chin or hanging on their ear. Well, now with my neck lanyard, you just release it off your ears and it hangs from your neck. You can walk around with it when it's not needed and you put it back on. So that's like super practical. The other one I just unveiled last week is so great. It's bringing smiles back to the world. It actually has a vinyl clear front, and it's great for so many different communities.
To all our listeners out there, Nancy Volpe-Beringer is not only an incredible fashion designer from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, she is a runner-up on Project Runway Season 18. She is a designer, a fashion-forward moving designer in creating wine bags. Didn't you create a wine bag?
There's just something about me and wine. I have, like, my first coat I ever designed has a wine pocket. And then I did wine bags because I like to be sustainable. So from my scraps, I then did wine bags. I believe fashion there's room to be whimsical and in fashion and let it make you smile.
So when it comes to the masks,
yes,
how much in demand are people wanting the masks where you can see the smile?
Well, this is what's incredible. It's not like I invented this. It's out there, but I had a couple of my followers reach out to me. One works with the deaf community and another was a nurse working with very small children at Children's Hospital who were afraid of the mask. And so they asked me to look into it, and I started doing different prototypes, checked what's out there. And I just kind of put my features, which are very adaptive because they fit all different faces, with my neck lanyard. And I tried out this clear opening thinking it was more for those needs. Well, now it's like people who are in sales, people working with children, teachers, just people wanting to smile again at the world. And I'm just overwhelmed. And it brings chills to me. It brings tears. When I get these messages, I got a message just last night, and it was from a mother who just bought one for her daughter, and their 1-year-old is getting surgery next month at Children's Hospital, and she bought it for her daughter so that she could smile and comfort her baby following surgery, and that just motivates me to keep these hours going and working.
15 hours every day.
Yeah, well, yeah, I start in the morning. I take my break for dinner, a couple hours with my husband and watching TV. And then at like 10 o'clock, I go back in my studio and put, some more hours in to fill the orders. I mean, I'm lucky. I live right next door. My apartment is right next door to my studio apartment. So I have no excuse.
Now, I remember you telling me a while back that, you're mindful of your neck and your shoulders and,
yes,
everything.
I know.
What are you doing to stretch, to pause, to make sure you're taking care of yourself so you don't get locked up?
Well, I do have to stretch. Like I developed arthritis in my neck while I was at school. I graduated 4 years ago from Drexel with my master's in fashion design. So I developed arthritis. I did 2 years of physical therapy. But I wake up every day in pain, so I do stretching. But the interesting thing is that the more I move around, the better I am. And I'm not good at taking breaks. I'm going to be real honest. I'm not the model person. So I do have to work at that, giving myself better breaks.
Well, here's the thing. You're incredible at creating adaptive wear. Hopefully you don't get into a place, Nancy, in your life or career where you need to make that for yourself.
Well, I'm going to tell you, this is a funny story. On Friday night, my husband, who's so amazing and flexible about what I do, he said to me, "You are stopping tomorrow at 5:00. We're going to play 9 holes of golf." Now, that's how I met him. I met him on a golfing dating site, and I used to play a lot of golf until, I went back to school, and then I got, with this arthritis and then Project Runway. So I just started playing a little bit. So I actually did take a break, and I played 9 holes of golf, which felt great.
Wonderful. How many hours did you guys play for?
Oh, we're fast golfers. So it was just like it's like an hour and a half. Like a 3-hour round of golf is really nice. So, yeah, but this was the first year that I've started to play a little golf, in 2 years. So, that's a good mental break for me.
Well, another awesome event that has happened for you recently is the awards event. Tell me about it.
That was so much fun. So it was the Reality Television Awards, and I got a call, actually an Instagram message from one of the producers, and asked if Jeffrey and I would be presenters for the Creative Challenge category. And it was like, okay, how do you do that virtually as co-presenters? So we did a Zoom. And we had so many takes. We laughed so much because we're trying to virtually pass an envelope back and forth. And it was great. It was great to be able to work with Jeffrey. I mean, he's the winner of Project Runway. And, I just had fun connecting with him. It had been a year, actually, since we had met and did the filming for Project Runway. So it was a great kind of anniversary celebration.
He's located in New York. Have you guys seen each other since then?
No. I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, we saw each other during the airing. Like, we did a press tour the week before the finale. So I actually was in New York in March, right before it all happened, and New York blew up. And we did the Andy Cohen show and just a lot of press stops. So that was in March, was the last time I saw him. But we've also had like a Zoom cocktail party with all the season 18 designers. So that was fun too.
Love it. I want to do something right now, if I may. I have a video of you here on Instagram. I want to play this.
From Nancy's Dance Making Studio. A week ago, I brought my smile back to Philadelphia, and the response has been overwhelming. Whether you need to read lips, you're a teacher, you work with young children, you're in
Hold on. Here we go.
sales, or you just want to share your smile with the world, this is the mask for you. I just love it. Now, how many of you have seen a mask something like this? It's big. It falls down over the nose. People walk around on the chin. Well, I've solved all of that with Nancy's mask. Here you go. You put it on. You fit it here. There's a filter pocket. You fit it under here. Now you need to take a break. That drink of water. There you go. The magical neck lanyard. And exciting news is that I've decided to have an option that all my masks can now have a neck lanyard added. I've got my holiday 4th of July mask in the work. I just want everybody to be safe, practice social distancing, wash your hands, and wear your mask. I love you. Sending hugs. Be safe.
I love that. The
Hi,
neck
from Nancy's
lanyard.
Studio.
Yes. Isn't that amazing? Like, why isn't that on every mask? I don't know. I just did it for myself because I started to do walks, and when it got hotter out and nobody was around, it was like I would slide the mask off just to get, because you need to breathe. And then I'm like, so then I thought, why don't I just put a little strap on it? And I did it for myself. And then I went, okay, that's the end of that. I've got to put them on all my masks.
I mean, it's brilliant. It's like a clip, like what you would have on glasses. If no one knows what you were trying to say in the video, it's just the same as though you would put the strap from one end to the other end on your glasses to have it be able to hang from your neck.
Yeah. So that's, so now I just attach it to each, people have an option if some just want it in their pocket, but if you want the lanyard, all my masks now have that option.
No one else is doing that.
You know what? I have not, the ones with the ear straps, right? The ear loops, I have not seen another mask that has the additional neck lanyard. Now I'm sure it's going to start happening, because I'm telling you, once you wear this, you're going to say, really? And it's actually safer because you always have your mask on your neck.
Have you ever thought of patenting it?
Well, I did, but I'm like, it's just a strap. I don't know.
Nancy, something so simple like that.
I know. Is that crazy? And the other thing that I found that is really, I love about my mask, and when I say adaptive, because they're for different sizes, I make my ear loops a little long, so that if you're a fuller face, you need the full length, but for a narrower face, all you have to do is knot the end. And then I also, instead of having just the wire insert up at the nose, I have it under the chin. And that's where there's usually a gap, so that you then have the wire and you just shape it to your face. And I'm putting that in all my masks.
It's brilliant. I'm going to tell you, Nancy, it is smart. It's genius. I haven't seen it anywhere.
I know.
And I'm telling you, really look into getting that patent, because what is going to happen if you find out a big chain or some copycat is going to find out about your brilliant lanyard?
They're going to. All right. I got to get off this interview. See you later.
I'm serious. If you want to, we'll come back. I'm going to tell you, get that going ASAP, Nancy. I wouldn't want to see someone else benefit over something so simplistic, but it happens every single day. Someone like you creates something so brilliant, and then another market took it, and then they're making millions. Nancy, you know the fiasco of what people are doing with masks and how they're selling it and overpricing as it is. No one's doing what you're doing, not in a way that you're doing it.
Thank you. I will look into it immediately.
I'm seriously, yes, sooner than later, because go to Nancy's Instagram, all right? Nancy Volpe-Beringer. Go to her Instagram, watch her videos. She just doesn't speak to you. She doesn't speak at you. She gives education, knowledge, details about not just her designs, but just simple common sense.
Yeah, and that's what it is. I think, I make each of these in my studio. They're not mass produced. But I got a message from somebody who, said, thank you for making them still affordable. I'm not taking advantage of my platform and overpricing them. I'm doing it the best I can. Each one made with love.
How long does it take to make one? Just one?
With the vinyl one, it's a full half hour, which is a long time. It's like they take about 2-3 times longer than the other ones, because it's so precise. It's like it's just the precision that's needed. And that's when I do it as an assembly. I'm trying to get faster, but you can't rush it either. So when I got my initial order, I had from the first night, last week, it was like 130 orders, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's 65 hours, immediately, of making out, so, but we're all caught up. We're all caught up.
When you're referencing about the vinyl, Nancy, are you talking about the ones that are clear where you can see the smile?
Yes.
That looks like it would take a long time. I'm surprised you told me a half hour.
Well, that's when I'm very organized, and in the beginning, it actually took longer. I've made enough of them now that I'm able to streamline and be more efficient and actually better quality, with them. I'm pleased with how the consistency of the product. But, I have them all cut. I do all one, step at the same time. And that's how I can try to speed it up.
Got you. Just in case, if no one caught the earlier clip from Nancy's Instagram page, I'm going to play it one more time.
Hi, from Nancy's Mask Making Studio. A week ago, I brought my smile back to Philadelphia, and the response has been overwhelming. Whether you need to read lips, if you're a teacher, you work with young children, you're in sales, or you just want to share your smile with the world, this is the mask for you. I just love it. Now, how many of you have seen a mask something like this? It's big. It falls down over the nose. People walk around on the chin. Well, I've solved all of that with Nancy's mask. Here you go. You put it on. You fit it here. There's a filter pocket. You fit it under here. Now you need to take a break. That drink of water. There you go. The magical neck lanyard. And exciting news is that I've decided to have an option that all my masks can now have a neck lanyard added. I've got my holiday 4th of July mask in the work. I just want everybody to be safe, practice social distancing, wash your hands, and wear your mask. I love you. Sending hugs. Be safe.
I love it. And I like how you ended with the vinyl mask.
Yeah. You know what? I'm getting so used to it. It's funny because, again, with the vinyl, it's not like cotton is breathable, but you treat it and it doesn't fog up. I gave a demo outside to my interns showing some steps, social distance. It was outside, no shade, sunny, 90 degrees. I talked for 15 minutes and it did not fog up. I mean, in my glass, nothing. I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. I just treat it with soapy water. It creates a film. But I'm like getting spoiled in that I want people to see my smile. It's a little weird looking because we're not used to it, but it's like I don't want to cover my face. I'm just like I want to share my smile.
Here's something I want to ask you, and I'm encouraging everyone, take Nancy's suggestion, look into her mask, look into what she's doing, contact her, find the details, because when you watch the video, Nancy will show you the traditional mask, then she'll go into the vinyl. She'll show you the brilliance of having the lanyard to where you don't have to completely take it off, how to take on and off masks, how to use the mask with the lanyard on it. But also what I love of where you can add, additional information or education in this, Nancy, when it comes to yours is this is a fact. I was in Starbucks yesterday. An older gentleman walked in. And the store manager was in there and she was sitting down. He was the only one that didn't have a mask on. And I don't know what prompted him to say this, but he ended up saying that, the masks are dangerous long term. You're breathing in all your carbon monoxide. People are now getting headaches. They're starting to get sick. They're breathing in all their own toxins, and the toxins are staying and being held in the masks. And so when I looked into it and contacted a friend of mine who's a very well-known, respected physician, it's looked at to where there's slight, or I don't know if the word slight would be appropriate, Nancy, but the controversy of why people are like, all right, they're thinking it's getting too political with the mask. But then when you look at the science of people who sleep with covers over their head, it's treated as the same thing. You're continuing the fact base of breathing in all the toxins, the carbon monoxide, not getting the fresh air, the dangers of sleeping with sheets or covers over your head, covering your face. So when it comes to your masks, if you can speak to it, to say anything. It seems to be well ventilated. It seems to be comfortable. Do you find, and I know you have said it already, you're not having any issues. Is there anything that you know of for fact compared to traditional masks to your mask of the benefits of wearing your masks?
Well, I will tell you, my sister, who has a health condition, but she's worn masks for a long time. She traveled through Asia. She said, actually, my mask is one of the most comfortable ones she's worn. And I saw a post on Facebook. Somebody had like a dozen masks that she had just hand washed. And somebody asked, what's your favorite? She said, well, I like to print on this one, but for the most comfortable ones, it's these three from Project Runway designer, which was me. So I think what's key about my mask is, in order for the mask to be effective, it has to fit your face. And if you look around, people are wearing masks, but they're loose. So it's really defeating the purpose. So because of these extra features, it can fit your face. But I think the lanyard is actually key, because I find myself, even with the cotton one, I mean, the vinyl one, yeah, it's not breathable, and because it's a vinyl shield, but there's cotton around it, and it's enough of a little bit of air comes in. But a lot of times, if I was going to go for a longer walk, I have put both on, and I can hang them from my neck and switch back and forth. So with the neck lanyard, you're walking around when you don't need it and no one's around, you just release it and it hangs. And I think that's going to, create that balance of having it on too long where you actually just need to take some fresh air.
Yeah, I will tell you, short distances, Nancy, I have no problem. If to take a flight, I can't even imagine having to wear one of those traditional ones.
I don't know. I mean, mine have double layers, so it's not like mine's magical. Mine's going to be, especially in this heat, it's going to be hard to have on. I think any mask, so this is not a magic potion here. I just have some features to make it fit, and then to, so you're not losing it or hanging it from your face, off your chin, things like that. But I think there's still a challenge. But there's other societies who have become used to it, where they're just a mask wearing society during certain times of the year. So I think it's just, our approach. I look at it as it's a way to keep me safe, but it's also out of respect for trying to keep people safe. And when I see what our frontline people have been subjected to and the courage that they've had to do to keep working, what is it for me to social distance, wear a mask, and wash my hands? I can do that. That's easy compared to what we've asked other people, essential workers, to do.
Exactly. And most importantly, it's the time, the dedication, the love, the respect that you put into what you're doing, just like is what you did on Project Runway when you were working with Tatiana. Yes.
I mean, I tell everybody, I think it was my destiny to be on Project Runway, even though the first time I watched it at age 50, I wasn't even a fashion designer, but I became a super fan. But I truly think it was my destiny to be on Project Runway. I wasn't sure why. It was just a driving force that had stayed with me all these years until I became a fashion designer at age 61. And when I got the chance to design for Tatiana McFadden, a Paralympiad, it was like there was no Project Runway at that moment. It was just me and Tatiana, and adapting her design, which is something I had an interest in, but wasn't able to, had not taken the time to pursue. And it's changed my life. I mean, I've heard from all kinds of people from around the world and the need that's out there. And I always said, I couldn't understand why I am just naturally inclusive. It made sense to me to include everyone in my fashion designs. And the more I've thought about it, I really think it stems back to early in my life where I felt like an outsider. There's so many times I was such a shy child and I didn't feel like I fit in. And I think I've just carried that in my heart and soul, that I want my fashion to be available to anyone who, wants to wear one of my designs. So it's just innate. And I didn't realize that.
That episode when they came out, I was so pleased and happy because your reaction was not only caught on camera, they put it in the show and it became priceless.
I did. I jumped out of my, the seat, and I just, in the universe, I just said, please give me Tatiana. When I saw her come out on the runway in her wheelchair, I mean, and I'm sure some of the other designers are like, might have panicked and said, oh my gosh, what do I do? I just pleaded with the universe, please let me design for Tatiana. I need to do this. And I knew the 30 minutes we had to design, I needed to spend, at least half of it on the functionality and how I could adapt their design to have her fantasy come true.
And here's the whole point, and I'm going to get to it right now, of why you are incredibly talented and made for this industry and this business, is because you put time and care to pay attention, to listen to what people are talking about, to listen to what people are not talking about. And this is why. Let me play this.
Hi, this is Nancy. Do you notice anything different? No messy bun today. I got lipstick on, a new mask, but best of all, my smile's back. How cool is this mask? If you work with young children, you have young children, you work with the deaf community, or you just want to share your smile with the world, this is the mask for you. I just walked 2 miles in 80 degrees heat, no fogging. It has all my special features. It shapes at the nose, it shapes under the chin. My brand new feature, you'll never lose another mask. So you've got to check it out. I'll make it at any print. NancyVolpe-Beringer.com. I'm glad to have my smile back. I love you. Be safe.
And the reason why you said, Nancy, you will never lose another mask is because of the lanyard. How freaking brilliant.
It's crazy. I mean, it was funny because my sister was in town and she's, getting me out there walking. And so I'm trying it. Like, I had to try this mask. Does it really work? And that's what I did. And so it just makes me laugh and smile. Because that was my first prototype, and I've refined it a little bit since then. But I did during the 2 mile walk. I took it off when I didn't have anybody around me to breathe, so that's important, I think.
Absolutely. Anything you want to share? What's going on right now?
Well, before, it was just like a couple weeks ago before I came up and committed to do this new version of the mask. I was working remotely with my assistant, and I'm working with an intern from Drexel. And we were doing a creative Zoom meeting and coming up with Zoom collars. So, I always love, I already had a transformative organza collar. I did that in my first challenge on Project Runway. But so many people are doing Zoom meetings and wanting to look professional, but let's face it, we're in our sweats and our t-shirts. And so we were coming up with different ways of having, I call it a Zoom collar or a top piece that you can add to whatever you're wearing and look professional for these Zoom meetings. So I am working on that, and I'm still researching and gathering information for adaptive design. And I'm working with Renee Hill from season 17. We're looking to collaborate. We just did an Instagram live talking a little bit about that, but we also talked about race relations and perspective from a black designer and a white designer. And it was a very open and honest conversation. So I'm very committed to the Black Lives Matters movement, and I want to hold myself accountable for what my role and responsibility is as a white person of privilege.
Keep me posted on that. And if you guys want to come on a show, we can go ahead and do a segment on that.
Sure.
And have both of you on, and you can call in, she can call in, and we'll just go ahead and, put it more out there in the world.
Yeah, it was really interesting because we had started collaborating before the pandemic and to do some adaptive designing. And then when the George Floyd, was just, and there was Breonna Taylor, when it all was happening, the protests, we had one of our collaborative meetings, but the first thing she asked was, so how are you feeling as a white person? And so we just started engaging. And I said, and it was great because this is what needs to happen. And I said, I'm very uncomfortable and it's tough, but I'm educating myself. And I know that it's not, I don't look to Renee for the answers. I got to look to myself for the answers. I'm watching documentaries. I'm reading. I'm supporting Black businesses, promoting, buying. I'm trying to do my role and realize that I have a responsibility. And the fact that I was born white has given me a privilege, no matter what I can say of being inclusive. And it's not enough. And I realize I have to do more. And I'm committed to do that.
What has the climate been like, the energy, the vibe in Philadelphia right now?
Well, while the major protests and going on, I happened to be out of town. And so I watched it from TV, and I actually had my intern working in my studio. And where the protest happens, it comes right down. It's called Benjamin Franklin Parkway to the Art Museum. And that's my view from my studio when I'm sitting at my sewing machines. So she actually stayed over because she was not comfortable. So I'm in the epicenter of when protests happening. But I see hope. I'm trying not to look at, the city got a lot of damage, unfortunately, a lot of looting, but I really separate that from the protest and for this movement for social justice. They're not the same thing. They're two different groups that were involved. And that doesn't mean we ignore the one, but my energy is on the social justice. And it's interesting because on my Instagram, I don't put personal things. I've always kept it professionally, not personal posts, not political posts. And so I really gave it some thought when this all was starting to come to the top front. And I said, well, this really isn't a political post. This is about social justice and humanity. And there's no way that I could, be and live as Nancy Volpe-Beringer and not share my feelings in an open and honest way. And I'm very comfortable doing that.
And you will continue.
Absolutely. Yes. No, and that's the thing I think that's different is like, this is not a one and done, a week, a point in time. This is going to be how I live my life. And this is going to take, it was 400 years in the making, and it's not an overnight. It's not a year, 10 years. It's going to be, hopefully into the next generation. And it's the time for the pendulum to swing and to really make it happen. Social justice. Black Lives Matter.
I agree. And I'm going to tell you, if this pandemic wasn't happening, I highly doubt the coverage, the attention, the care would be put into it. But I'm going to tell you, when they say timing is everything, this isn't going anywhere anytime soon. It's going to be permanent change. I believe it already is permanent change. I believe it's going to lead into more of the rights and into the LGBT community. I believe that when it comes to the Black Lives Matter movement, it's going to transcend into other movements of being like, okay, this needs to get cleaned up. This needs to get cleaned up. Whether it be, from abortion to LGBT to biracial children, interracial marriages. Like, there's a lot to cover that's been swept underneath the carpet for decades, if not longer.
What's interesting is one of the questions Renee asked or commented, one of the things my goal as a designer, I said, was to be a relevant designer. And I meant by being able to use my designs to do good in the community. So immediately after I graduated 4 years ago, I got to work with the City of Philadelphia Mural Arts Program, Southeast by Southeast, helping refugee women, training them, teaching them sewing skills. We would do dyed scarves to help them become productive and citizens in our country. But there was so much going on about immigration. And I knew a lot of the facts, because I was right in the middle of the community, were inaccurate. So I attended workshops and I educated myself on really how difficult it is to come in as an immigrant and refugee. It wasn't what was being portrayed by the administration. So I felt it was my responsibility to learn the facts. This is what was so startling as I started watching documentaries, realizing that I never questioned the history of the African American, of the Black person in our country. I thought I was taught history accurately, and I realized not. Like, I was taught, with the end of slavery. Well, slavery did not end. It was just, built into a criminal justice system. There's just so much that I need to learn and realize that our history, our curriculum needs to change. We need to teach what has really happened, celebrate the role of Black people in our life, in our history, and also the injustice. And that's one of the lessons I'm taking, is that I've got to educate, because what I was taught wasn't the real story.
Mm-hmm. No, I appreciate you sharing that. And
yeah, you know what? It's time to be honest and humble, and not hide and be afraid. I'm not going to be afraid. And I can only, I could feel bad, or I could use my energy to do good. But I got to be honest, and I've got to accept my responsibility and what I need to do.
One of the things that I had forgotten about, and I don't know if you've seen this in the news and on social media, is the history of the Statue of Liberty. Did you catch wind of that?
No, I have not.
About how it's not really about immigration. It had to do with slavery. And how the original Statue of Liberty is of an African-American woman holding a lantern. The United States declined on that sculpture from France and designed the one that's sitting in New York City.
Amazing. I mean, I encourage everyone to watch the documentary 13th Amendment, the 13th, because I've got to watch it again, because it was too much information for me to grasp the first time. But yeah, it's we got a long way to go, but I agree with you. I think now's the time, and we just have to make it happen together.
Where is that documentary on? Is it on Netflix?
I think that's where I saw it.
Okay,
Netflix.
I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, you have to. I'm just working down the list. There were 87 ways of things you can do, and I'm just working down the list of things to educate. Not just listening isn't enough. You got to speak up, and you got to do.
Absolutely. And it's called 13.
Yeah, 13th.
I'm going to write that down.
Yeah.
13. Are you or anyone that you know, and I don't know if it's unrealistic, even though you can maybe social distance, maybe sometime later this year, early next year, a pop-up event or anything like that?
We definitely need to think about that. I mean, I actually was involved in a virtual trunk show, had some of my pieces on a virtual trunk show. That was okay. I know Renee and I want to try to do something. I've actually also talked with Sebastian Gray from last year. I have a nice relationship with him, and we'd like to do something. But I don't, I don't know how we're going to do this with social distance. There's so much we don't know, but I'm not going anywhere. I mean, the fact that, I was so proud that I made history on Project Runway as the oldest person, and people say I talk about that a lot. Well, I'm proud of it, but I also know, I think my Runway show made history as the most inclusive and sustainable collection that's ever walked Project Runway. And I'm really proud of that. Like I said, I was so excited that Jeffrey got the title, but I think all four of us walked away as winners. We all got to show who we were as a designer. And I got to bare my soul and heart on the runway. And as the judges said, I had an extremely emotional collection. Tatiana was there. I was just proud when I picked my models and we were together, we looked around and we knew we were making a statement, a movement of inclusivity. And that's something I'll just, that for me is the future of fashion, sustainability, inclusivity.
Here's something else you just refreshed my memory on is adult bullying. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I'm sure you've heard this whole Karen thing. I consider this to be adult bullying. You're aware of this on social media.
I started hearing the term, and I think it was last night I said there was another Karen episode, and I thought I've got to find out more about what they're meaning by that.
Well,
I know it's...
No, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, tell me what you know about it, because
So on Instagram, especially TikTok, it's not the younger generation that's, it's not a 12-year-old calling a 13 or a 16-year-old Karen. It's these moments of people capturing in drive-through or just, the ones that think that they're journalists or I don't know what it is. I call it idiocy with people taking their video cameras or their cell phones and taping every freaking thing, thinking they're some type of, Golden Globe news reporter, is they're finding older women, Walmart, Starbucks, wherever it may be, that are unhappy or in a situation, taping them and then calling them Karen, which I'm going to say it's like, it's not targeted at a young age. It's specifically women that are like adults, and they're finding moments and calling them Karen because it's an outburst moment or it's a Karen moment where they're having a, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's adult bullying is what I see.
Well, it's interesting because my history, and it's always, somewhat difficult to talk about, but I was a multiple victim through decades of adult passive-aggressive bullying. And people really don't know that it exists. This sounds more of not passive, but still adult bullying. And it's and when I talk about passive-aggressive adult bullying, it's when people gossip behind your back. We know that happens. When they ridicule you, when they ignore you in a room, give you the silent treatment, sabotage your work. These are all things, and they all sound small individually. And, when you talk to, and people notice it and they just say, oh, just ignore the person. They've got a problem. Well, as a victim, I'm telling you, it's painful. And it's humiliating, and you start to doubt yourself. It's like, why? I ask myself, like, why did it happen not just once, but twice? Or why did I allow it to happen over such a period of time? And, that's something I had to confront. And when I did confront a bully, it was such a liberating moment for me. And I like to view myself not as a victim, but as a survivor. And the thing that I like to point out, though, when you see bullying, there is no such thing as an innocent bystander. So if you are listening on somebody being ridiculed or gossiped or watching it and you don't speak up, you're now part of it. And that just makes me sad to know it's going on. And yeah, adult bullying exists, and it's words hurt. People always ask me about my experience in Project Runway, and there's editing going on, but it doesn't matter. Words hurt. And I'm not, they said, oh, you seem to, not let anything bother you. You're so strong and focused. Well, yes, I was strong and focused, but that doesn't mean I wasn't hurt hearing words. And I just want people to be kinder. And that's what on the show, I tried, to just show that you can still be kind and get ahead. You don't have to put somebody down to feel good about yourself.
I'm going to tell you, Nancy, if there's a way or it's in your heart that you would ever decide to help a community or to work with a organization or someone to be a voice for that, because this Karen nonsense thing, it's rancid. It's not a little bit. I mean, it's rancid. And once again, TikTok, nothing to them. But if to see these bullying videos and what's happening to older women. I mean, the women are anywhere from like late 20s, 30s, all the way up to where I saw a 50-some-year-old woman in drive-through get bullied by a group of kids videotaping her because she was having a problem with her order. It was through drive-through. And then they were yelling out the window, okay, Karen. And it's like, it's getting really, really crazy, Nancy.
That is, I mean, believe it or not, I mean, I was bullied when I went back to school. So here I am in my late 50s, and I was bullied by a younger student. And that's kind of where it stopped for me. And but it's like, why would somebody, like, it just didn't make sense. It was mind-boggling that a younger person here is bullying. And it was all the passive-aggressive behavior that I spoke of. And it's harmful, and we just don't need it. We don't need it. I don't mind sharing my story about bullying. It kind of had me step back a little bit, because when I compare, my experience of bullying and just seeing what's happened with the inequality and injustice for during, as I educate myself with the Black Lives Matter. I'm like, oh, Nancy, it's that's so insignificant. But then I also have to realize, no, at the time, it's not insignificant. And just because there's a bigger issue doesn't mean I should discount my personal experience and try to help people so that it doesn't happen as often. And, I don't have to do one without the other. I can care about both.
What surprises me is you went through that through college.
Yes. I mean, just like, again, I was in my I started college. I was 59 a freshman. You had to do a prerequisite year. So I was 58 when I started. I graduated at age 61. And it was very obvious. I mean, everybody, it wasn't subtle. Everybody witnessed it. It was really rough.
Did you receive support from staff, from the professor?
Well, this is when I started to research it, because I did my research, and what I researched was what the responses I got was like, well, this person has a problem, just ignore the person. And that's what I was told. And it got to a point, actually, that I wasn't going to accept that anymore because it wasn't a solution. But the person who was doing the bullying actually left the school. So I fortunately for me, but I was ready to take it and have them address it because it wasn't acceptable. That wasn't an acceptable answer to ignore it.
To even say that, I mean, it's...
Well, but that's, because it doesn't seem like a big deal to, and I'll tell you, this seems so simple. But when you're in a classroom and you're working in a studio after your class, and there's 4 people in there, and we're all doing our, patterning or whatever we were doing. And then somebody comes in and for the other 3 people asks for their Starbucks order and ignores me and goes out. So what happens? So it's like, oh, what's the big deal? Well, I was the one left out. Or she would come in and say, oh, I'm going to lunch. You want to go? And ignore me. Well, when the other people walk out, who are my classmates, and say, well, what about Nancy? Come on. Or Nancy, do you want something? But just let it happen. That's where I said there's not an innocent bystander. So isolated individually, it's like, oh, what's the big deal? But when it's cumulative and you walk in a room and, you're ignored, a silent treatment. Again, I've been in a work situation where my work was sabotaged. And it's interesting because I spent many years working as an advocate to Education Association for school employees and teachers. So I can stand up for anyone. I just couldn't stand up for myself. And, you could go back and explore why in my childhood. It doesn't matter. I had to learn to do that. And I'm okay with doing it. And that was a proud moment for me on Project Runway when I had some struggles and I was starting to feel it was coming back to me, whether anything was intentional. It was triggering past feelings and emotions from bullying. And so when one of the designers asked me, so what did I think? I was able to say, I felt disrespected and I wasn't listened to. So for me to be able to do that was a big step as a survivor. And again, it doesn't sound like much, but I was proud in that I was standing up for myself. And it's hard for people to think they see me as such a strong person, but you know, we all have our other sides. And this is something that's taken me a lifetime to achieve and get better at.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, anyone who's bullying you normally is scared of your power and your empowerment, your strength. And, you know, that's what victimizers usually do is they want to take that away from you.
Yeah. So it's made me, like I said, you know, we all have to go through our journey. Mine is just one story. It's my story. It's made me the strong person. And I think very compassionate and passionate person. So, you know, that was what my journey required for me to get to where I am. And, you know, like I said, we all have our challenges and hardships.
Well, you're in a better place now. You've always been in a great place. Look at what you've accomplished. Those people would only could only fantasize to have been on television, and you made it through the end. And no matter what, you've earned every step of the way, and still continuing by creating masks, working with, you know, hospitals and businesses, doing what you're doing, having been invited to the 2020 reality television awards.
I know. It's crazy. I mean, I still, you know what's funny? This is like, it doesn't make any sense. But last week they had a marathon day, I guess, and they showed the whole season of Project Runway, season 18. And so I turned it on, and it was a 2-part finale. And I'm like, oh, I'd love to be on that show. It's like, but you were on the show. It's still a fantasy. Like, I can't believe it really happened. It's like it happened to somebody else. I'm so proud. And I think my joy shows in my face on the episodes. It shows in what I'm doing now. I mean, yes, I'm working, but we all work hard. I'm just living a joyful life.
And you know what, Nancy, I wouldn't doubt whenever production were to start up and they decide to do the Project Runway All-Stars, you get invited. Would you do the All-Stars?
You know what, there's been some posts and they were like doing this campaign, Nancy, you know, Team MVB All-Stars. I'm like, I'll be in my 70s by the time they have enough people to do an All-Star. That would be funny. So, We'll just take it for today and do what I can do today, and we'll worry about that later. Never say never. I never say never.
Oh, you know what? I believe in you, and I want to see you on Project Runway All-Stars.
Don't start. Nobody heard that. We're going to edit that. We're going to edit that right out of this interview.
Well, keep in mind, we are live.
Oh, no.
We are live.
Oh, this has been so much fun.
Yeah, it really has been. And Nancy, thank you for being with me here today, live on air with Stephen Cuoco on Power 98.5. And I want to thank you for being part of my journey.
Oh, and thank you. Thank you for letting me, you know, have a platform to just share what I'm doing and caring about what I'm doing. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Steve. Oh, and thank you, everyone, for listening. And
Nancy, where can everyone find you?
All right, it's easy. NancyVolpe-Beringer.com or hashtag Nancy Volpe-Beringer. My email, nancyvolpe-beringer@gmail. Just remember Nancy Volpe-Beringer and you'll find me.
Remember, everyone, check out her mask. Go to her page, Nancy Volpe-Beringer, Instagram.
Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome, Nancy.
Empowering listeners from the US to the UK. Live on air with Stephen Cuoco.
Friend us on your socials and let's connect.
Empowering